All right, here we go. We're going to try this again, making sure that I'm not muted. Yes, I see all 1,000 texts from you guys. So we're going to try this again. It's hard when you have to be your own sound guy and producer and video guy and my teleprompt. And I know, there we go. At least you guys are listening. I appreciate that. So I'll say it again. It is great to have you guys with us. I'm glad that we are all together, even in this capacity. If your friends aren't online yet, obviously they haven't missed too much, so make sure that you invite them to be a part of this and to join us. As always, we will post this later on, but I love the opportunity that we get to do this together live. And so with that, I was saying that we have a lot planned for this evening and a lot that I want to dive into with all of you as we're going to be starting a new series called Faith in an Anxious World. And tonight's message is going to be taking a look at life in an anxious world. And we're going to be looking at a couple different chapters in the Gospel of Mark. We've got a few other things before that that we get to join in together. And so I hope that we get to enjoy that. As mentioned, invite your friends to participate with us. It is not too late to jump on right now. Invite any of your siblings who are in middle school or high school to join you as well too. And feel free to even invite your parents to watch along as well. If you have not yet, I want you to make sure that you have a Bible present with you. If you do have one, grab a notebook or some paper and something to write with. I'd love for you to take notes throughout the message, but also there's going to be a small exercise that I'm going to encourage all of you to do during the message as well. And so I am curious. I know that it's been a couple of weeks that a lot of us have been stuck at home. Let me know in the comments if you're willing to share, but has anybody attempted a quarantine haircut yet? Has anyone thought that you need bangs right now, or that you need to change up your hairstyle, or you are just desperate because you have not been to your barber or stylist or wherever it is that you go? Let me know, because I also want to know how it goes. I desperately need a haircut, but obviously, I can't go see my barber, and so I don't know. Should I trust Lauren to trim my hair at least some, so it's not terrible? Not at least yet. Some of you had started sharing. So there is a lot for us tonight. I do want to jump into a game for us. Sorry, Reagan, I do not have NFL trivia for you just yet, but I am working on it. I have had some technical difficulties trying to get ramped up this week, but also trying to bring the games to you. It is way more complicated than you would ever think it would be, but I'm going to do my best. I think tonight's game is pretty good, and I think it's something that I know I would enjoy a lot, so hopefully some of you will. And then we're going to have some worship tonight. We're going to have a message later on in the service. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's see. Time for a game. All right. So I hope you guys are ready for this. I know it's Sunday, but there's never a bad time really to have Chick-fil-A, let alone talk about Chick-fil-A. So we're going to be playing Christian Chicken Trivia. I hope this is a good one, and I'm going to be disappointed for those of you who do not get all of these correct. So this is really going to test to see who is a real fan of Chick-fil-A. It doesn't matter if it's closed. I'm sure Josh Philo always smells like Chick-fil-A anyway, so you can't even hang out with him, so you miss out on that also. All right, so here we go. I hope you guys are ready. Make sure you're in the chat if you are not, so you can answer the questions. As always, keep track of your own score and be honest, because this is church, this is large group online. So here we go for our first question. If my title graphic will turn off. Chick-fil-A was founded in what year? A, 1924, B, 1937, C, 1946, or D, 1952. So I'll give you just a second or two to answer. And the answer is C, 1946. I don't want to give away some of the little bit of random Chick-fil-A knowledge that I have in case I spoil any of these for you. But uh, Chick-fil-A was started out of the founder's house pretty much, and then grew pretty rapidly from there. Oh yeah, I don't want to give away too much. I'll give like bonus facts and trivia at the very end here. All right, our next question is who founded Chick-fil-A? This is like a gimme question right here. So is it A, Ben Good, B, S. Truett Cathy, C, Melt Clark, or D, John Howard Swain? Bonus points if you know who any of these other people are. But the answer is, if you don't know already, B, Truett Cathy. Although he has since passed away. All right, next question here. A lot of you were getting that. That was pretty good. Before it was known as Chick-fil-A, what was the name of Cathy's restaurant? Was it A, the Dwarf Grill, B, Cathy's Family Diner, C, the Chicken Grill, or D, Captain Cluck's Chicken Grill? All right, giving you a few seconds here to answer. And it is the Dwarf Grill, which in fact I have been to the original Dwarf Grill. And it does have like a miniature like door, I guess, that you could go through as well as a regular size door. I don't know why. On to the next question. Where was the original Chick-fil-A store built? Was it Duluth, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Vidalia, Georgia, or Hapville, Georgia? I don't know. I'm not from Georgia. I don't know how to say those. If it was Massachusetts, half of those syllables wouldn't be pronounced. All right. Is it A, B, C, or D? And the answer is Hapville, Georgia. I bet that was a complete guess on most people's part there. But that's okay. You don't have to know exactly where it was to enjoy the goodness of Chick-fil-A. All right, each year in college football, Chick-fil-A sponsors which bowl? Is it A, the Fiesta Bowl, B, the Georgia Bowl, C, the Cotton Bowl, or D, the Peach Bowl? It's college football fans. How many of you were really bummed about March Madness? I'm sure there's a long list of those, but all right. Get your answers in, because it is D, the Peach Bowl. Every single year, and in fact, I've actually been to the Peach Bowl. It's crazy. It is like almost too much Chick-fil-A all at once. It's just all over all the time, but it's still worth it. A lot of fun. As of 2018, roughly how many Chick-fil-A stores are there in the USA? A, over 2,200, B, over 3,200, C, over 4,200, or D, over 5,200. And really, I'm going to, over, if you even pick A, like, that's pretty close, but, like, I want to know who actually gets it to the closest here, right? It doesn't count if you just guess. This is not The Price is Right. All right, so giving you a moment to get your answers in. And it is A, over 2,200, which again, like, that's not fair if you picked it and you just guessed. But there's actually now approximately, I think, like 2,600, maybe 2,700 stores. I don't know. They keep opening them up all over the place. All right, a few more questions here. Really testing your Chick-fil-A knowledge. Where is Chick-fil-A's headquarters? Is it Orlando, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, or D, Atlanta, Georgia? Give you a few seconds. Fun fact, I have also been to the headquarters, and I have been to Truett Cathy's office, which has been nicknamed the Eagle's Nest, which is kind of weird. But that's what they called it. I don't know why. It's not a super spectacular place, the headquarters and home office, but it is there. All of you guessing. But the answer is, if it will go, D, Atlanta, Georgia, home of Chick-fil-A. All right, 3 more questions to go. Let's see how well you guys can do on this. Who designed Chick-fil-A's logo in 1964? Was it A, Donald Floro, B, Dean Henson, C, Louis Giglio Jr., or D, Russ Hamilton? I'm going to be honest, even I don't know the answer to this. But I'd love to know which of you can get this right. you just might know more about Chick-fil-A than me. The answer is C, Louis Giglio Jr. So there you go. Add that to your random pointless facts arsenal. All right, getting down to the last few questions that we have here. The names of the Chick-fil-A cows are Freedom, Freckles, Cat, and Molly. First of all, how many of you even knew that the cows had names? But is it true or false? They might not even have names. Again, this is more information that honestly I know nothing about. The answer is true. Those are their names. But I wonder what each cow's name at each restaurant is. I don't know. Is who works at Chick-fil-A? I know Josh. Anyone else? What is your mascot's name at your store? All right, final question. Here we are. Which is not one of the three sauces that are mixed in to create Chick-fil-A sauce, the greatest dipping sauce and condiment on the face of this earth? Literally manna from heaven. Is it A, barbecue, B, mayonnaise, C, ranch, or D, honey mustard? Few seconds to get your answers in. And then after you answer this, I want to know which is your favorite sauce of all of them at Chick-fil-A. It better be Chick-fil-A sauce, but we'll allow an alternative, depending on what it is. The answer is mayonnaise, which would be kind of gross and weird. I bet you're pretty surprised by ranch, because that's pretty close as well too, but Chick-fil-A sauce is really a mixture of them all. That's why you can't pick any of the others. Chick-fil-A sauce is the ultimate sauce. All right, that was the last of them. I want to see your guys' records in the chat, and let us know how well you did, if you were surprised by anything. I don't know. I'm trying to scramble to think of a couple other random Chick-fil-A facts that I might know. This is really boring and pointless, but Chick-fil-A is debt-free. Every time they open up a store, they pay cash, 100%. That's pretty good. Seeing a couple answers kind of pop up on my screen. 9 out of 10. Nice job, Ben. 3 out of 10. James, it's okay. Aiden, wow, that is impressive. But yeah, it's all just for fun. I don't know. I don't really have any other random Chick-fil-A knowledge. If you go to the original Chick-fil-A, the original actual ranch restaurant location, you will. It's at the Dwarf House. You can order things other than just chicken sandwiches. They have hamburgers. They make all their pie in house. You should go check it out. It's pretty good and pretty worth it. So, anyways. That is all the Chick-fil-A trivia that I have for you guys. And so I hope that was fun. It would probably be even more fun if we got to go to Chick-fil-A and not just have trivia, but enjoy some really great Chick-fil-A. So as I had mentioned, we have a few other things for us tonight to experience together. Hopefully I can avoid more technical difficulties here. I can see that I'm still unmuted, so I'm going to make sure to do my best. Thank you for everyone who kind of gave me a heads up there. But we are going to enter into a time of worship, actually. And so I hope that you all... this isn't just about enjoying this time of worship, but as always, it's an opportunity for us to slow down from everything else. Try to block out the distractions and maybe even kind of some of the things that are running through our mind. It's an opportunity in which we can focus our time and attention on God. And so I invite you to participate in this. I invite you to take whatever posture you want to take during this time of worship, whether it is sitting there, you could kneel, you could stand, you can sing along, or you can just listen. But really, this is an opportunity in which we focus our time and attention on God. And my hope is that we are each drawn closer to Him through this experience. So let's worship together now. And then I'll be back on in a few minutes for us to continue in our service.
Hi, Crossway Student Ministries. Thank you so much for joining us online tonight to worship together when we're unable to be physically present with each other. We're going to start off the service tonight with a couple of worship songs, and they're going to be songs that you're probably already familiar with, and so I just encourage you to sing along and worship together from the comfort of your own home tonight. mercies for me every day. Your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. The wind is strong and the water's deep. I'm not alone here on these open seas. Your love never fails.
All right, everyone. Um, if you hadn't taken the moment yet to grab something to write on, a notebook, a journal, just a piece of paper, and something to write with, I still encourage you to grab that. Um, we're as we go into this series, it is a little bit heavier of a series and a lesson than we typically have. Um, so, kind of on the front end of the message, this is a little bit of a disclaimer, but there isn't anything that's going to be extremely heavy or dark that we're going to talk about. If you gathered kind of from the series title, the main point and focus that we are discussing is anxiety and just the conversation around mental and emotional health. This series invites us to explore what that is and how it affects our lives. But I think it's an important topic, one, in general, to talk about in the church, but two, especially in light of where we're at in our society and what's going on in the world around us right now. And so with that, this might be something that is new to you, maybe foreign to you. You might not deal with this or recognize that you have dealt with it before. It's just not really prevalent in your life. For others, you are very aware of the word anxiety and your own experience with it. It might be something that you deal with on a weekly or even a daily basis. What everyone needs to know is that anxiety is nothing to be ashamed of, and it is never something that we should make someone else feel shameful or guilty of. It should never be used to make someone feel weak or less than other people. It's very natural, it's real, but we're going to explore what it is and how to confront it. It is real, but it should never control your life, and we can talk about what that journey looks like together as we lean into our faith and learn to trust God in this anxious world. I want you to watch this video next to gain more of an understanding of what anxiety might look like for some other people. And so it is about 5 minutes, but I ask that you just kind of listen and begin to understand. Whether you deal with this or not personally, you might know somebody who does. And so hopefully this gains us kind of a broader understanding. And again, make sure that you have something to write on or write with, because I really encourage you to take notes throughout this.
I'm like, calm down, you're fine. And then you just keep saying that faster and faster.
I should not be this worried about it.
It gave me a lot of anxiety not knowing what to even do in high school.
Stress is a normal part of life when we are under pressure in new and demanding circumstances. That's a good thing because it helps us adapt when it matters most. There are many reasons why we may feel a little bit of anxiety in today's world. Anxiety is one of the emotions that doesn't feel great, like sadness or anger or fear. Anxiety is unpleasant, but it plays an important role in our lives. We are going to feel anxiety from time to time in our lives, but we don't have to feel anxious about feeling anxious. Everyone experiences anxiety.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I do feel anxious.
I'm anxious all the time.
I think just the overall pressure to do very well in a lot of different categories.
Homework.
For AP classes, for honors and all that.
Once that test comes in front of me, everything blanks and I'm like, oh gosh.
Reading out loud in class. Getting ready for college.
Did you get in? Have you sent the things? And
accumulates, it's just stress. These relationships can cause a lot of anxiety.
Making friends.
Relationships with parents.
Social media. I blame myself too. We put the best parts of ourselves on social media. And if you spend a lot of time looking at that and kind of indoctrinating yourself that that's how life is, then you kind of blame yourself for a lot of the bad things that happen.
Well, a lot of people were very competitive with each other.
You want to have this certain body or you want to have this certain amount of money.
Growing up, I definitely didn't have a lot of the things that I wanted. You know, like the things that I wore or even like school supplies.
I was like up all night trying to think, is this the right thing to wear? Like, what do freshmen wear?
I had like a ton of acne on my face, and I felt like nobody else did in my school, and especially in my friend group. I felt like that's all that people were looking at.
I just have really racing thoughts. My thoughts just move really quickly to like all the different fears.
And a lot of times it's not even something that would happen. It's just your anxious brain just coming up with scenarios.
It's like everything's closing in on you, and like you can't do anything, like you're worried about what's gonna happen.
If anyone talks to me, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. I just focus on like what I'm anxious about, and I can't think about anything else.
Sometimes it can affect your physical body. You can have a hard time breathing.
You're like breathing, I guess, like it kind of like bottles up and it freaks you out.
I just can't breathe. I can't get a full breath in.
Sometimes it's like my chest is tight. Other times it's like I'm burning a hole in my stomach.
If you feel like you're on a roller coaster and it's like right when you're at the very, very top and you feel like your stomach is like up in your chest and you're like about to fall.
Having 1,000 cups of coffee in your body, which you can imagine is a little much.
They're a little more sweaty than usual. You don't want anyone to notice, and you kind of just think that everyone's looking at you and you're a weirdo and no one's gonna like you because you're freaking out.
That's kind of what it feels like, at least for me.
It's really hard to explain.
I, for a long time, felt like I was the only one who felt that way. And when I started talking to my friends about it, they were like, oh, I actually feel the same way.
Like, a lot of people deal with that problem.
I mean, I know, at least with me and my friends, we would all experience it, and we'd just talk about it a little bit, like what's going on, like what we're worried about.
Saying what is making me anxious already feels better. Just put it out there. Just use what words you can, and you guys can just start talking about it. Because if you keep it inside, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it gets bigger and bigger. But again, if you say it out loud, it's not as scary.
A lot of people go through it. As cheesy as it sounds, you're not alone. A lot of people have anxiety.
And so, as you saw in the video, anxiety is something that exists in the world around us. It's something that we all experience at some point or another in our lives. And because our anxious feelings can, and at times, have the potential to grow and cause a lot of disruption in our lives, anxiety is something that we should talk about. Throughout this series, we'll be opening up the Bible to see God at work in anxious stories, learning a spiritual practice that can help us when we're stressed, and building relationships with people that we can turn to when we need to talk. As we take a look at our scripture for tonight, let's ask, where is God when I feel anxious? We're going to take a look at a story in the Bible that you might have heard before, but we're going to look at it in a different perspective. And so I'm going to be going to Mark chapter 6, verses 45 through 51. And so if you have your Bible, I encourage you to follow along, but I'm going to have it up here on the screen as well as I read it to you all. Right then, Jesus made his disciples get into a boat and go ahead to the other side of the lake, towards Bethsaida. While he dismissed the crowd after saying goodbye to them, Jesus went up onto a mountain to pray. Evening came and the boat was in the middle of the lake, but he was alone on the land. He saw his disciples struggling. They were trying to row forward, but the wind was blowing against them. Very early in the morning, he came to them, walking onto the lake. He intended to pass by them, and when they saw him walking out on the lake, they thought he was a ghost and they screamed. Seeing him was terrifying to all of them. Just then he spoke to them. "Be encouraged. It's me. Don't be afraid." He got into the boat, and the wind settled down. His disciples were so baffled that they were beside themselves. So I ask, what do you notice that's unusual about Jesus' words or actions in this story, in this situation? I encourage you to share with each other your observations. You're welcome to share that in the chat, or if you're with somebody who's watching with you in the room. But here's what I observed. Jesus' walk is steady. It doesn't talk about him rushing or panicking. But when he encounters his disciples, he doesn't walk past and keep going. He stops and he ends up getting into the shaky, rocky boat. Jesus steps into this unsteady boat. There are many stories in the Bible where someone shows signs that they are feeling anxious. I want you to also then comment or share with anybody beside you any examples that you can think of. Some of you might have thought of Abraham, Moses for sure, maybe Esther or Daniel. I had thought of Joseph, who married Mary, Jesus' mother, when he learned of Jesus' birth, right, or that Mary was going to have Jesus. When the angel came before him, the angel had to let him know, like, don't be afraid. And I always think, like, how terrifying it must have been, that angels come to talk to people, and they're always, kind of putting that disclaimer saying, hey, please don't be afraid. Even in today's story, it wasn't the first time these same disciples found themselves in a heated situation. I want to look again in Mark, but a few chapters back at something very similar. So as we go to Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41, it reads, "Later that day, when evening came, Jesus said to them, 'Let's cross over to the other side of the lake.' They left the crowd and took him in the boat, just as he was. The other boats followed along. Gale force winds arose, and waves crashed against the boat so that the boat was swamped. But Jesus was in the rear of the boat, sleeping on a pillow. They woke him up and said, 'Teacher, don't you care that we're drowning?' He got up and he gave orders to the wind, and he said to the lake, 'Silence, be still.' The wind settled down and there was a great calm. Jesus asked, 'Why are you frightened? Don't you have faith yet?' Overcome with awe, they said to each other, 'Who then is this? Even the wind and the sea obey him.'" So let's compare to Mark 6, what we just read. Once again, Jesus is in this unsteady boat with his disciples. In both stories, we see Jesus speaking or acting from a place of calm and stillness, but entering into an anxious situation with his friends. Jesus doesn't abandon them in their fear and their anxiety. He joins them in that moment, and he is with them. And then what do you know about their response? You might think that they didn't get it, or they were confused, if you are, assessing those scripture passages. But they were in awe, because before they understood who Jesus really was and what he was doing, in both cases, the water and the wind were calmed. Their storms ceased. And now Jesus was with them in their question and their confusion, not bringing his own anxiousness, but bringing calm and bringing peace. So a personal story. Back in 2013, I was on a mission trip in Haiti. We had gone out to serve an outcast group of people, which Haiti is a pretty harsh and impoverished place already. So this group was outcast from even the rest of their society. They lived on a peninsula that, from where we were, was only accessible by boat over a vast lake on the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. We had piled 8 or more people into each of these little boats or rafts that was affectionately called water taps that we had said. And I'll show you actually a picture here that I have. So these are the rafts, and this is the peninsula that we're on. This is actually us preparing to go back to the mainland. And so we called them water tap taps, even though that's what they weren't, because tap taps were these other colorful taxis that questionably carried more people than they possibly should. But this is a tap tap here, and usually it would be piled with so many people, but they were always painted up and kind of colorful designs and everything. And so looking at these boats that we were getting onto, they really shouldn't have only carried about 4 people, but we loaded them up with quite a few. As we were over on the mainland, quickly jump back into the boats and get across before the storm hit, leaving us stranded on that peninsula. On our journey back across the lake, the storm was getting stronger. In the first photo, if I go back here, you can actually see the dark clouds that are coming in from the side. And then this other photo, you can see it's not too bad, but the waves are starting to get a little more harsh. As that storm was getting stronger, the wind was blowing harder, waves were getting bigger, and too many people were in this boat for these little Haitian kids to be even rowing back across. Our boat that I was in was drifting towards the Dominican border faster than we were making progress to the Haitian shoreline that we were headed to. And on top of that, our boat was leaking, and those of us not paddling were scooping water out of it as we were headed back to the mainland. So you better believe that my anxiety was at an all-time high in that moment. A few people in our boat began singing worship songs, which was a little awkward and uncomfortable at first, but actually brought some peace into an extremely tense situation. I'm here now, so you know that I made it safely back, as did everyone else with our group. But here's why I wanted you to grab that extra piece of paper. And I hope you have that. I hope you have something to write with. And as I've reflected on that story, and as we've gone through the scripture passages that we read together, and in light of what we were talking about today, I want to ask, what's making your boat feel unsteady lately? Even as you reflect on the last few months, maybe the year, maybe it's school, activity and sports that you were a part of, friendships, relationships, or maybe even something going on at home. It might even be the lack of any of those. It might be this virus and having to adjust to a completely new norm and even feeling stuck at home. So on your paper, take a moment to write as many things as you can think of that are causing you to feel stressed out, that are causing you to feel anxious. I'm not going to ask anyone to share, but I want you to do this because I want you to be honest with yourself in this moment. And later, I want you to find people who you might actually share that list with. This way, you'll be ready with what is weighing you down when it is time to share. You'll have been able to think through it. So take a moment just to do that. Write those things down. Feel free to keep writing as they come to you. And the reality is, though, is we all feel anxiousness sometimes. That knot in your stomach or the nagging fear when you face a challenge is your body's natural response to stress and pressure. Anxiety is a feeling that everyone, even at most ages, experience. Anxiety can feel like a problem, and sometimes it is, but there's the important thing to remember. Anxiety exists to tell us something important. Anxiety might be telling us something is wrong, or maybe that we're in danger. It might be telling us something about our bodies or our relationships, or about a basic need like food or sleep. The key here is that we learn to listen. Jesus was present in the months when, or in the moments when people were feeling most anxious, and he showed them a healthier way to respond. As we look through the scripture, we see that God doesn't usually place anxiety on people. God is present and stays with them in their anxious moments. Anxiety at times can be a tool that points people towards growth. In that moment on the boat, our natural reaction is to panic and frantically scoop water out while the boat of the boat, while we were desperately trying to make it back across the lake and to the mainland. Right, it was important to keep paddling and to get the water out of the boat as we were going along. But it wasn't until that our attention was drawn away from that only that was making us anxious, right? But it was to the songs that were being sung. And then with that, the peace that we could experience in that anxious moment. The peace that Jesus offers by joining in the singing that was happening in our very boat. So I want you to look through that list that you have made, that you have been working on. And I want to give you another moment, but it's okay if you need to kind of, catch up and add to it a little bit later or continue reflecting on these things afterward. But this time, I want you to look over those stress points that you wrote and ask yourself a couple of questions. 1, where is God at work in the midst of your anxiety? And then next, what might God, sometimes through the anxiety, be trying to tell you? When anxiety takes control and it makes us feel unsteady, we try different things that make that unsteady feeling go away. Right? These are called coping strategies. Some coping strategies might numb our feelings, like TV, junk food, video games, or even more extreme things like drugs or self-harm. But all of these cause more problems. Over time, if we ignore anxiety, it can cause other deeper struggles like self-hate, addictions, or even depression. But the good news is that we can work with anxiety in healthier ways than just ignoring it or just numbing it. We don't have to follow it down this dangerous path. There are healthy coping strategies that help us to step out of our anxiousness and learn to see it differently. So a few things that I'm trying to be intentional about, especially during this time of greater isolation, is to connect with my own small group over video chat at least once a week, and then checking in on each other regularly on other days. I had small group normally. We would meet together. It was easy to find excuses not to go to small group or think that I was too busy for that. And you know what? We'll have it again next week. But it is refreshing and something that I look forward to every single week now, honestly, more than ever, to be able to connect with them and see their faces. Another, especially during this time, is that I get outside and I go for a walk, preferably without technology as often as possible. It clears my head and I start to feel better so quickly, almost an instant remedy. And when we listen to our anxiety and what it's trying to tell us, we can learn more about who we are, what situations make us feel unsteady, and what healthy coping strategies actually work for us that are better for us in the long term. We use our powers to make changes when situations in our life cause us to feel tense. Then we need to recognize where God is present when a situation in our life causes us to feel that tension. Also, we need to be practicing listening to God as we can experience peace and share that peace with others. So it's kind of like we might cultivate this garden to grow what we want. In the same way, we can cultivate or create practices to grow peace in our lives by helping us walk through this anxious world and recognize God at our side in that unsteady boat. So I want you to think back to the 2 stories that we read from the Bible in this lesson. You can consider other stories about Jesus that you've read or heard. Notice, Jesus rarely traveled alone. In forming his group, the 12 disciples and the women who traveled with them, he created a close circle who supported one another, and even long after he ascended into heaven. So I want you now to, if you haven't been taking notes, but hopefully you have, to write these next things down. So I want you to write, look up. We pause in the midst of our anxious thoughts to look up and seek God's wisdom through prayer, the Bible, and talking through this with others who are walking in faith. Then I want you to write, look inside. We think and reflect on where God is at work inside of us. Third, I want you to write, look around. We take a good look at our own anxious world so that we can make peace and share in it. I encourage you to write these reminders somewhere where you will see them every day. On your bathroom mirror, in your room somewhere, on the fridge door of your house, or anywhere that you just frequent throughout your day. Look up, look inside, and look around. As we look up together, I'm going to teach you some steps to build yourself a circle of care like Jesus did. A close circle of friends you can trust and talk to when you are feeling unsteady. That comes easier for some than others. You might be in a small group already, so this is an important time to lean into that more than ever. The challenge that might make that might take you kind of out of your comfort zone is inviting someone into that group that might not have participated in it before. If you're not in a small group, then all our groups are listed on our website. You can sign up for those even right now or after a large group online is over. That might take you out of your comfort zone, but now is a good time to push yourself out of that comfort zone, to join one of these groups, because you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home right now to join one. It's new, it's different, it takes time to adjust to, but it is worth it. Another practice that I'm going to share with you is a tool to look inward. I want you to explore a prayer practice called the daily replay. You might have seen it at large group before when we had shared it. It's a simple practice with a few steps for you to follow every day, or even in those moments where it feels like anxiety is taking over for you, to help you spot God at work. There's a great video that walks you through it that will be posted on our YouTube page, but you'll be able to also read through the practice of those steps in today's discussion guide that has been listed in that shared folder that we have. You'll be able to find it in an email that I'm going to send out afterward, but it's also linked on our YouTube channel and on our webpage as well. If you have trouble finding it, be sure to message us and let us know so we can make sure to get that to you. With that, we always encourage you, you're welcome to go through that discussion guide on your own, journaling and writing out your own questions or writing the answers that you might have to that. I encourage you to go through that discussion guide with your siblings, even your parents if they are watching along, but this will be posted later on for anybody to go back and view again. One of the other practices is reaching out to some friends. You might be in a small group, but I encourage you to invite some people to be in a video chat, Zoom or FaceTime, however you can connect with others to talk more about it. If you don't do that tonight, maybe you can plan on it for later this week, or you can do it when you connect in your small group. I know this isn't always easy for people, and we will continue to look for ways in which we can invite each of you into this community to further the conversation, to have a safe place where we can talk more about this. In the meantime, we always encourage you to reach out to let us know how we can best serve you and how we can help you. I want to invite you to join me as I pray to close out the message. Father, we come before you now, together as a community. Although we can't be in a place physically together, worshiping and learning, Father, we are still together in spirit. Father, I thank you that we happen to live in a day and age where we have this technology that allows us to connect well in a time where we need to be self-distancing and isolating ourselves from one another in order that we can keep each other safe and healthy and keep others who we may not even know that we are keeping safe and healthy. Father, I thank you for your wisdom and your guidance, and I pray that each of us have been able to learn something here and that we're able to walk away knowing more practices in order to confront the anxiety that we might experience or have the ability to better walk with someone else through this time and through the anxiety that they might experience. I pray for patience for each of us as we navigate this uncertainty and our own anxiety, but also helping someone else to navigate their own. May we be patient and may we be kind, not judgmental. I thank you for this community and this time that we have to gather together, to worship together, and to learn together. I thank you and I pray this in your Son's name. Amen. So with that, I am very grateful for everyone who has gathered together, who has been a part of this. I know that I had shared some big news, if you had seen that in an email a few days ago or over the weekend, and so I haven't addressed that quite yet through large group, but I am going to offer some time here at the end that I'm going to stick around. I won't necessarily be on the video feed, and I'm going to switch to just our large group slide for now, but I'll be in the comments, and I might come back on in a few minutes to be able to address any of those questions that you might have. If you didn't see that, I encourage you to go to your email and check that out. If you do not get our weekly emails or even the special emails that we send out, make sure to let me know. But you can actually go to our website and subscribe for those emails. Also, I encourage you to go online and sign up for a small group. We will be in touch with you, if not tonight, first thing tomorrow morning, to be able to give you that information. Something too, before you go, is I want to hear from you guys. Quick little survey. We are going to have large group this coming weekend, but it is Easter. And so we have two options to still have large group on Saturday at 4 p.m. Or to continue to have it on Sunday at 4 p.m. So I'm kind of surveying the group. We're going to do it either way, and it'll be available to you if you cannot view it live on Saturday or Sunday. It is Easter, and we encourage you to spend time with your families, connecting and investing in each other's lives. But we do want to continue to connect with you as a community, especially during this time where a lot of us are just isolated, and it's now more important than ever to be connecting and to be checking in on each other. So I thank you all. I look forward to more opportunities to connect with you. I will stick around, address some of the comments, and read back some of those that I missed during this time. So I thank you all, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week.